everyone. My name is Destiny Brown, and this is the first of Discussions with Dezzi. I'm your host, of course, Dezzi. And today, my first special guest is my mom, Rhea Smith. Do you think we have to self-police ourselves in order to get justice?
I think ideally it is, no matter what position we're in, we're human. I think we always should watch our backs to some degree.
So we should take self-initiative and accountability. How do you think that this has changed your perspective as a mother, seeing all these other people? Because that was someone's daughter's son. Their mother is outliving their mothers are outliving their children, fathers are outliving their children. So how has that kind of shaped your mindset now?
It's scary to think that my child could be in that predicament. George Floyd was crying mom. Like, how heartbreaking can you get? Like, if I heard one of you guys crying mom, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, I would die. Wasn't too worried about you.
What you gonna say? What you gonna say?
You stayed in the house a lot. You didn't really go out much. You just did your schoolwork. I mean, there's always a chance that something to happen, but I didn't think about it too much with you. But I think your brother, he's a boy. He likes to test his limits or likes to go out and play in different ways, and I think that worries me. Just the fact that a child should be able to be a child. A child should be able to do dumb things and still live till the next day. They should make mistakes and be able to grow out of them and mature. And unfortunately, they can't. My biological mother, who considers herself white, she's Mexican and Sicilian, and married a white man. And so my brothers and sisters are white. And, she tells me a story about my brother going out and playing with a airsoft or a BB gun and, getting caught by the police. And it's, kind of a funny story. And then I had the same experience with your brother, and it was scary because he could have been shot. Even though it wasn't a real gun, even though he wasn't hurting anyone or being dangerous, he could have been shot. I just thank God that the police officer had good judgment and nothing happened, but he sure told me that it could have. And I think having that understanding that even if he does everything right, something could still happen. It worries me, but it's hard with a kid to say don't make any mistakes in life.
That's a high standard. Like,
you're gonna do something dumb. The fact that there are young children who are not getting the opportunity to make dumb mistakes and do silly things that kids do.
Throughout your journey, I guess, as a parent, has anything changed, or do you see a difference within cultures? Do you see any of that when it comes to parenting?
Yeah, I think I tightened up a little bit. I mean, I'm not a super strict parent. I think that even though we have to be cautious, we shouldn't not live for the fear of dying. Anything can happen, If you drive a car, you can get in an accident. If you cross the street, you can get hit. But I think I've tightened up a little bit more. Just, making sure that I know his whereabouts. Making sure, even asking you, did you get home okay?
Yes, I know that.
Check in, let me know. Making sure your brother comes home earlier. Checking up on him, making sure his phone is charged so I can call him and communicate with him at any time. I don't know if it's these experiences. I don't know if I'm just getting older and more anxious. Have more things to be anxious about. It's different when you can put your little kids in the car and they're with you all day than when they're out there in the world and they have to take airplanes and drive different places by themselves, and you have to think about all this. Oh my gosh, she's at the park by herself what if something happens?
Yeah. Do you think if you were an older parent, there would have been a difference? Or because from your experiences, because you had older parents, so were there more restriction, limitations, or is that concept like by the second child, it's just like, whoa, let's see what happens?
There was only one. There was only one of me. I was the only child, so there was no by the second child anything. My adoptive parents who raised me were older.
Mm-hmm.
Very paranoid.
Oh, definitely.
No, we don't want you to go anywhere. We don't want you to do this. We want you to do that. You might hurt yourself, or you might be in a situation. I don't know if that's because they're older or if that was just who they are. And then, you know, with me getting older, like I said, I don't know if it's just the fact that there's more things to worry about.
Because now, like, we're reflecting on this, but I think it's been generational. Like, I've heard stories, I don't think it happened to me, like, especially with, like, the Black community, like, be home before the street lights go out, things of that nature. Do you think that's more, like, cultural, societal thing, individual thing?
I think it could be cultural. I hadn't experienced that, and I don't remember ever saying that.
Yeah, because I don't remember it either. As far as our family, I didn't regard you as like, oh, I have mixed parents. I have parents. I didn't understand when I was younger. I think growing older, it's like everyone has their perspectives. Like, oh, this is what this like we talked about culture. This is what this culture does. This is what that culture does. Comparing them and talking to other people, because some people said, yeah, even my age. Oh yeah, my parents told me that you have to be home by streetlights. So yeah, I don't know what that means. Like I never heard that.
And I don't think it's a racial thing, but just a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are people who have a Black parent, white parent, or, you know, whatever races, but those two parents grew up in similar circumstances, maybe in a similar area, similar cultural similarities. And so that mixed child maybe doesn't necessarily have a conflict in culture. Even if you do have a Black parent and mixed parent, they can still be from two different cultures. They can still have two different experiences, and I think that's the difference.
I know, like, you once lived in the Philippines, so do you think that diverse exposure when you're younger made a difference? For example, the baby doll example, where all these young children were faced with a Black baby doll, white baby doll. Which one's prettier? A lot of even the Black children chose the white doll because that's been, I guess, taught to them. And is that from not having a figure there that reflects that beauty, or where do you think that comes from?
I think for a lot of people, it may be a connection of what is beautiful and what is ugly. I don't think so much for me. I kind of felt like the pretty one, I guess. I don't know. Like when I'd be around my white family, they treated me like a unicorn, you know?
Oh, yeah.
They were just like, oh, look at her hair, so beautiful, and look at your skin. I wish I had skin like yours. You know, growing up, I did have a low self-esteem, but not because of, you know, anything racial. But from what I do remember, I think that the white dolls had a higher quality. Now, I don't know if my memory was wrong. And that's what I remember from that movie with John Travolta. He was like the Black man in our society today, but in the movie, the Black men were the prestigious and, you know, the authoritative. And he took his son into a toy store one day and let him pick out a doll, and he picked out the Black doll. And he said, no, put that one back, because we can't afford that one right now. Just get the white doll. And his son was just like so upset. Like, I have to get this cheap doll.
That movie, how did it shape your experience or your perspective? Because what if everything was flipped today? If people were just put in different places and they knew what previously happened, how do you think their perspectives would change?
I think there'd be a lot of revolts. A lot of upset people, and some people would be like, ha ha ha. would be a shock. And I think that there would be a lot of things that maybe we hadn't even thought of, because we accepted it so much as normal that we would be like, dang, this is different.
But how do we get outside that mindset? If we're so because this is how you grew up, this is how you're confined, this is the culture you're used to. But you've experienced different things. I've experienced different things growing up. Like, you always put us in different things. You want us to have that perspective. So how can other people expand their mindset in order to actually see and understand so they can create that acceptance?
How many years did it take us to get here?
Oh, goodness. A long time.
When you're in a toxic relationship, they say, how long did it take you to get into that toxic mindset? Okay, now how long do you think it's going to take you to get out? Kind of like the little grasshopper in the box thing, where he's trying to jump out of the box, and you have a lid on it, and when he hits his head, he decides, I'm not going to jump anymore because I don't want to hit my head on the top of the box. And then you put a new grasshopper in there, and he won't jump to the top of the box because the other one taught him, you're going to hit your head. And even when they take off the lid, the grasshoppers still won't jump because they know we're going to hit our heads.
It's going to take generations to get it fixed.
It's going to take constantly transforming communities by transforming their minds, not necessarily just dumping a bunch of money, but just spending time with people, investing time, showing them different ways of life. You just have to keep doing that over and over again.
So how do you think that we can accomplish that?
It's people working together, people being curious and asking questions, people being allowed to ask questions.
Oh, that's a big one, being allowed to ask questions.
Yes, and people just being open to sharing with one another.
Yeah, so what are your last comments?
Empathize with people, be human. Admitting that something is wrong, admitting that we have things to fix in society is not the same thing as giving people an excuse. Acknowledging the fact that there has been an unhealthy advantage in our history, throughout our history.
Yes.
That when you take a whole group of people, strip them completely of their culture, any memory of their land, their language, tell them that they're not even human, and then when they do get some kind of rights, you put them in subpar, schools and housing, where they don't have the same benefits, they don't have the same supplies as you do. When they go off into the military, they don't get the same benefits as you. They're denied different rights. The law carries a bias, and they go to prison for things that they've never done. When you do this throughout all these years and say, why aren't you as successful as I am? Please just empathize. It's like running a race with someone and cutting off their legs and telling them, why aren't you moving as fast as I am?
Empathize, everyone, educate. And that was the first discussions with Dezzi. Thank you.